Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. All right, so I've said before that I am quite capable of saying if I'm wrong or there's the potential for that, but all of this comes in context. So I said before that Russia probably, under the context of the time, would not call the Ukrainian forces a terrorist organization. But things change. All right, so and some of that is just information that comes out after me saying it. But let me start off with something. I want to illustrate what propaganda looks like. Ukraine was putting out, news flashes and videos stating that Russia had attacked with a missile near a nuclear plant. Well, all right. This was 300 meters from a nuclear plant, which is 984 feet. All right, so a missile striking close to 1,000 feet away from a nuclear plant is not going to damage the functioning of the nuclear plant. Yeah, it'll knock out some windows. Knocking out windows isn't going to stop a nuclear plant from functioning. The Zaporozhye nuclear plant has been attacked, according to Russian forces, according to Russia, over 60 times. You got Russian security forces at many of these nuclear plants, including Zaporozhye. Ukraine is claiming that Russia is doing the attacking. Look, with security forces at these nuclear plants, Russian security forces, you can count on the fact that with over 60 shelling incidents and commando raid attempted while the inspectors were there, you can count on the fact that Russian forces have been injured or killed during these attacks. So you cannot believe that, Russia is attacking their own forces when they were the ones requesting the IAEA inspectors, including ballistic experts, which that did a lot of good because of the politics in the UN, refusing to assign blame. You can tell who's attacking according to where the forces are and where the shelling attacks very obviously came from. A missile is like a spear. If you throw a spear and it lands in the ground, you're gonna be able to look at that spear and tell what direction that spear came from. Yeah, you're not gonna throw a spear from behind you and it's going to land at an angle that makes it look like it came from the opposite direction, period. And if you looked at a map of this plant, Russian forces are on one side of the plant, the south side of the plant, and encircling around to each side, and the Ukrainian forces are on the north side. So if all the attacks are happening on the north side of the plant, you know where it's coming from, period. All right? Anyway, so even when you look at the video from this, you can tell it's a distance away from the plant. With 60 attacks on the Zaporozhye plant, it tells you how hardened a nuclear plant is, because that plant has not gone into meltdown. They've impacted the cooling systems, but there are all kinds of backup systems for these plants. So This is not something that actually put that plant in danger. What you should be asking, Russia has been hitting, using highly targeted attacks. With all of the attacks on the energy infrastructure last week, one person was killed. That was confirmed. One person out of all those attacks. That tells you they're using highly targeted attacks. It didn't hit civilian population centers. It hit infrastructure. And by the way, that infrastructure actually was mostly along the eastern side of Ukraine. And guess what they were powering? Military infrastructure, command centers. Anyway, that's another point to be made. We keep on hearing about all the stuff that the United States is sending to Ukraine. A lot of these things are stuff, some of this stuff is like radars. Well, radars need what? They need power. Radars use a lot of power. What are you not hearing about us sending? Mobile generators that are powerful enough to power this stuff. So if you don't have the mobile generators, then what are you going to do? You're going to hook up that high power equipment into the civilian energy infrastructure. You knock out the communications, you knock out the radars, you knock out the ability for the command centers to be able to coordinate movements of the troops on the front lines. Now, most of that was back up and running within a day or two. It wasn't meant to knock them out permanently. They could have done that permanently, but they didn't. All right. So all of this is what propaganda looks like, okay? Saying that Russia attacked near a nuclear plant as opposed to Ukrainian forces actually attacking a nuclear plant. And remember, earlier this year, Ukrainian forces knocked out the power going to Chernobyl. And, you know, I've mentioned that before. And it was Russians that brought in first, mobile generators and then ran a power line from I forgot. Wasn't Bulgaria. Anyway, from another state. So they ran in the power line from another country in there to power Chernobyl. I don't think that Russia's trying to do some kind of nuclear terrorism here. But anyway, so I said the other day that I didn't think Russia is going to declare Ukrainian forces to be a terrorist force. But since that time, there have been many reports coming back of Ukrainian forces attacking civilian population centers that have no military presence, including the city of Donetsk. One attack killed 16 civilians, 2 of whom were children, hospitalized at least 20 people. That is the definition of a terrorist attack. There's no military there. There is no legitimate military target. They know where the Russian forces are. This couldn't have been a mistake because they literally launched kilometers past the line of Russian forces. They know where the Russian forces are, and they launched directly into population centers. And this is not the first time. They have, on numerous occasions, attacked shopping centers, markets, etc. It has been documented by Amnesty International that Ukrainian forces have been using civilians as human shields by placing their military forces in civilian population centers, artillery launch sites on top of daycares, and taking over hospitals and things like this. This is what a terrorist organization would do. So, I could be wrong on that. They may declare the Ukrainian forces to be a terrorist organization. They very well might, and they would be well justified in doing so. All right, so now, within the last 2 days, first Luhansk Oblast, then Donetsk Oblast, then Kherson Oblast, and then Zaporozhye Oblast. The people or the governors of these regions have been calling for referendums in each one of these. This is coming from the bottom up. To rejoin Russia. What would this mean? This would mean if they vote in favor of rejoining Russia, that makes them part of Russia. That means any attacks by Ukraine on these oblasts become a direct attack on sovereign Russia. Instead of a special military operation, this would mean full mobilization, declaration of war against Ukraine. This is way removed from what's been happening. The forces that have been fighting in the special military operations are contract soldiers, mercenaries, active military that have signed contracts to fight for a certain period of time in these areas voluntarily. Well, many of those contracts are ending. This also explains some of Ukraine's successes of late, because a lot of these have not renewed those contracts. They're going back home. So Russia has to change gears on this. And so and the people in these oblasts know all of this that's going on. They're well informed. In addition, Ukraine has put out a statement that if they take over any of these areas and anyone shows any signs of having cooperated, not assisted with, but cooperated with, Russian forces, or if these people in these oblasts vote in a referendum to rejoin Russia, and Ukraine moves into these areas, they will consider any civilian that has done this to be guilty of treason. They will be tortured. They will be imprisoned. They will be shot down in the street. I want you to remember what happened in Bucha back in March or April, that the mayor of Bucha put out a video saying that Russian forces had left. He didn't mention anything about bodies in the streets, nothing like that, which I think he would have mentioned. It was 3 days later that videos started coming out of Bucha of dead bodies in the streets. Here's the thing about those bodies. Those bodies, most of them had white armbands, which indicated that they were sympathetic to the Russian forces. They were holding aid packages with food and water that had been delivered by Russia. And all of a sudden, they show up 3 days later. So it was 4 days after Russian forces had left the city that these videos showed up. This is what Ukraine does. They've already made it clear what their intentions are. Complete genocide, which they had been trying to do for 8 years anyway. So, yeah, so Russia has different options available. Declare Ukrainian forces a terrorist force. Wait for the results of these referendums, which they are going to hold these on an emergency basis. That means within the next week. From there, the results of those referendums will go to the Russian Duma, and the Russian Duma will hold an emergency session, and they will declare a decision on this, whether to accept these oblasts as part of Russia within 24 hours, probably less. From there, they will order the mobilization of the conscripted military, all 1 million plus forces. No more holding back. Yeah, attacks on Donetsk city were done using U.S. supplied HIMARS. Think about that. We armed Ukraine to kill civilians. Of course, we're arming Saudi Arabia to kill people in Yemen. I try to be as objective on different things as I can. I don't want anyone to die. I want peace talks to happen. I want this to end. Hopefully, if these referendums happen and Russia does accept these oblasts as part of Russia, and they just announce the mobilization of the military, maybe it'll end right there. Maybe Ukraine will come to the bargaining table and say, okay, all right, we've had enough. Stop. Because we can't there's no way. But if Russia declares war on Ukraine, sooner or later, peace talks are going to have to happen. I've pointed out before, no war is ever prevented or ended without diplomacy. How much are you going to keep this going? Anyway, share this video. Talk about these subjects. Let's hope that we're coming to an end of this. Let's hope for all the death, all the destruction, all the suffering to end. That should be the point. All right. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign. And I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.